Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots, broadcasting live from the Snarful Solutions Group in Sacramento, California. I'm Alex.
And I'm Morgan.
And it is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. We are so thrilled you're tuning in with us this morning.
Definitely. We've got a lot to cover today.
We really do. But before we unpack the huge stack of tech memos on the desk today, let's get you caught up on the morning data to start your day.
Sounds good.
Looking out the studio window right here in Sacramento, it is shaping up to be a pretty beautiful one.
Oh, gorgeous.
Right. We're expecting mostly sunny skies today, a perfect 70 degrees with just a light breeze, maybe hovering between 3 to 8 miles per hour.
Yeah, the local picture is serene, but the national map is flashing a bit more red today.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so if you are traveling or maybe you have family spread across the country, just be aware that we are currently looking at 365 active weather alerts nationwide.
Wait, 365? That's a lot.
It is, and 240 of those are centered right over landmass. So it's a pretty chaotic weather pattern. Keeping an eye on weather.gov is a very smart move if you have a flight to catch.
Absolutely. Well, shifting over to the financial markets, if you checked your portfolio while pouring your morning coffee, you likely saw some pretty robust momentum.
Oh, yeah. Strong numbers to report across the board today.
Exactly. The Dow closed up over 263 points yesterday, so that's a 0.55% bump settling at 48,535.99.
Nice. And the S&P 500 mirrored that trajectory, right?
It did, yeah. It was up about 57 points or 0.83% to sit at 6,967.38.
And for those tracking the cryptocurrency landscape, Bitcoin is holding a really steady line this morning, hovering right around $74,327.
So up just slightly.
Yeah, it represents a slight 0.20% uptick. So overall, it's a solid, stabilizing week for the broader markets.
Good to hear. Well, speaking of maintaining sustained energy throughout your morning, we have a quick word from the folks to keep our studio moving.
We sure do.
Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew, but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFUL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com.
All right, let's turn to our Morningstar Tech article report. We are examining 3 specific data points today that really reveal the sheer velocity of technological integration happening right under our noses.
Yeah, let's unpack this because this isn't abstract future casting anymore.
No, not at all. This is a real-time structural shift.
We're witnessing an unprecedented transition. I mean, artificial intelligence is actively replacing routine human cognitive labor. It's being deployed as the primary defense for our data networks.
And it is demanding a massive volume of physical electricity.
Right, electricity that just completely defies standard industrial modeling. So let's look closer at the human element first. Specifically, there's this internal memo that leaked out of Snap, the parent company of Snapchat.
Yeah, CEO Evan Spiegel circulated a memo to their entire global workforce, and he explicitly called this a crucible moment for Snap.
A crucible moment, wow.
Yeah, and the immediate reality for their workforce is severe. Snap is laying off approximately 1,000 employees.
Oh, man.
Which represents 16% of their global workforce. Plus, they're simultaneously closing another 300 open roles.
So the financial calculus there, I assume, is just about carving a ruthless path to profitability.
Exactly. They're targeting an annualized cost-based reduction of over $500 million by the second half of 2026.
Because Snap is kind of caught in a punishing vice right now. I mean, on one flank, you have legacy tech behemoths with infinite capital, and on the other, you've got these hyper-agile startups stealing user attention.
Right. So strategically, Spiegel is cleaving the business. They're separating the legacy Snapchat app from their augmented reality hardware division, the AR Specs.
Trying to isolate profitable growth and just double down on higher margin ads.
Yeah, but the crucial underlying mechanism driving this downsizing isn't just budget cuts. Spiegel cited rapid advancements in AI as the primary engine that's enabling their teams to eliminate repetitive software engineering work.
And that brings us to the metric from their investor presentation that really demands some serious scrutiny.
No, the code generation metric.
Yes. Snap revealed that under their new operational model, at least 65% of new code is being generated by AI.
Which is just astounding.
It is. To contextualize that for you, imagine a high-end restaurant kitchen. You still have a human head chef, right?
Right.
But instead of a dozen human sous chefs doing the meticulous prep work, you have a robotic system executing 65% of the chopping, the dicing, the stirring.
Yeah, on paper, that reads as an incredible efficiency triumph.
Sure, but wait, I really need to push back on the reality of that workflow. I mean, if a machine is writing more than half of the foundational logic of an app, who holds the ultimate liability when a critical system-breaking bug slips through and compromises millions of users?
That is the accountability paradox.
Exactly. Are we blaming the drastically reduced human oversight team or the autonomous agent?
Yeah, that paradox is the defining vulnerability of this whole transition. Because you have to remember how AI actually generates code. It isn't like thinking about the architecture of an application.
Right, it's just predicting the next word.
Right, it utilizes probabilistic modeling to predict the most logical next sequence of syntax based on its training data. In traditional software engineering, if a system fails, a team can review the version control logs, locate the specific human commit, and analyze where the logic fractured.
But with the 65% AI-generated code base, the human engineers are essentially downgraded from creators to editors.
Which is completely different work.
Totally. And acting as an editor for thousands of lines of machine-generated text introduces a very real psychological phenomena, cognitive fatigue.
Oh, absolutely.
When you are rapidly scanning syntax that you didn't originate, your brain naturally just glosses over subtle logical flaws. The human reviewer experiences basically code blindness.
Yeah, and to take that a step further, an AI doesn't write code with unified human intent. It just patches together statistically probable solutions. A human editor might verify that a specific function works in a silo,
Right.
but miss how that function destabilizes the broader application over time.
Right. When the volume of output is that relentless, rigorous human oversight, mathematically degrades. So if you work in tech, or frankly any knowledge-based sector, Snap's 65% metric is a crystal ball for your career.
It really is. You aren't necessarily competing against an AI for your next promotion. You are competing against the small squads of humans who know how to effectively pilot a fleet of AI agents.
And this structural shift is echoing everywhere. I mean, we watched Amazon eliminate 16,000 corporate roles earlier this year, followed swiftly by layoffs at Meta and Oracle.
So the very definition of a software company is mutating from an army of human coders to a centralized group of human directors managing machine labor.
Which brings up a terrifying point. If Snap is trusting automated agents to write 65% of its digital foundation, who is securing that foundation?
Well, a human cybersecurity analyst is entirely too slow to audit machine speed code generation.
Right. You need an advanced AI to catch a rogue AI.
Exactly. And that dynamic brings us to the invisible arms race currently unfolding between the world's premier AI labs, seamlessly transitioning from AI writing code to AI defending networks.
Yeah, so OpenAI has just deployed a highly specialized model designated GPT 5.4 Cyber. This is a fine-tuned variant of their primary architecture, engineered specifically for defensive cybersecurity.
And the technical pivot here is really fascinating. OpenAI has fundamentally lowered the refusal boundary for legitimate security operations.
Okay, let's unpack this. Break down the mechanics of a refusal boundary for us.
Sure. So in a consumer-facing AI, there is a hard-coded safety reflex developed through reinforcement learning from human feedback. If you instruct an AI to, say, write a polymorphic computer virus or identify a zero-day exploit in a banking database, the safety reflex triggers.
Right, the model refuses the prompt, stating it violates safety guidelines.
Exactly. But if you are a corporate cybersecurity defender, you actually require the AI to analyze malicious code. You need it to map out synthetic phishing campaigns and simulate the exact attack vectors a hacker would use.
So you can preemptively patch the vulnerability.
Yes. So lowering the refusal boundary means reprogramming that hard-coded reflex. You are essentially instructing the AI, it is permissible to pick this digital lock, but only because you are showing me how to reinforce it.
I see. But the danger is that the lock-picking methodology is now actively accessible within the model.
Right. OpenAI is attempting to mitigate this by gating the model behind their trusted access for cyber program, which requires rigorous identity authentication.
Okay, let's pause right there because that assumes authentication is an impenetrable shield.
Which we know it isn't.
Right. If you use a skyscraper analogy, lowering the refusal boundary isn't just handing a security guard the master keys to the building. You are handing them the master blueprints that detail every structural stress point.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Every blind spot in the camera network, and the combination to the vault. And OpenAI is planning to roll this out to thousands of authenticated professionals. Given the prevalence of sophisticated social engineering and insider threats, aren't they practically guaranteeing this incredibly powerful, less restricted tool falls into the hands of bad actors?
The data suggests that is a near certainty, and it is the exact scenario keeping global regulators awake at night.
I bet.
The tension here is really driven by relentless corporate competition. OpenAI's deployment of GPT 5.4 Cyber occurred a mere 7 days after their primary rival, Anthropic, released their own elite security model, dubbed Mythos.
But Anthropic took a remarkably different, far more conservative approach with their deployment, didn't they?
They did. They recognized the exact vulnerability you just outlined. Anthropic calculated that the risk of bad actors obtaining Mythos was too severe, so they restricted access to only about 40 major corporations.
Oh, just 40.
Yeah. They essentially installed a vault door around the lockpicking tool. The capabilities of Mythos were considered so potent that Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent actually issued formal warnings.
Wait, really? The Fed and the Treasury?
Yeah, urging financial industry executives to audit their defenses against AI-facilitated breaches.
Okay, when the head of the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Secretary are flagging a specific software model, it indicates a massive systemic national security concern.
Absolutely.
It means your personal bank account, the local hospital database, the regional power grid, they are currently situated on an active, invisible battlefield.
And the window of exclusivity for these defensive tools is rapidly closing. The director of Ireland's National Cybersecurity Centre recently warned that hostile state actors will possess equivalent unrestricted models before the end of the year.
By the end of the year. That is moving so fast.
Yeah, Jack Clark, Anthropic's co-founder, corroborated that timeline too, projecting that highly capable open-weight models from foreign adversaries will flood the internet within 12 to 18 months.
It's a total arms race of attrition. And
Yeah.
economically, it looks like this is forcing a seismic strategic pivot at OpenAI.
How so?
Well, they are ruthlessly culling ancillary projects. They paused development on an adult-oriented ChatGPT and completely halted a UK-based infrastructure project called Stargate.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they are marshaling all their resources toward enterprise clients. They're reacting to an undeniable loss of market share. Data from the corporate payments platform Ramp indicated that nearly 1 in 3 U.S. businesses paid for Anthropic's tools last month.
Wow. 1 in 3.
Yeah, so OpenAI is establishing a permanent London research headquarters and rushing these specialized cyber models out because Anthropic is currently dominating the lucrative enterprise sector.
Well, to write over half of a global application's code base at Snap, or to simulate millions of cyber attacks per second with OpenAI's models, requires a foundational layer of physical hardware that just defies standard comprehension.
It really does. I mean, we talk about the cloud as if it is a weightless, ethereal network floating above us in the sky.
Right, but the reality is viscerally physical. Which brings us to the sheer, staggering scale of the infrastructure required to keep this transition alive. Meta and Broadcom have announced an expanded, multi-year partnership extending through 2029.
And this is to co-develop multiple generations of Meta's custom MTIA chips, right?
Yes. The MTIA, or Meta Training and Inference Accelerator, is a custom-built application-specific integrated circuit. Unlike a general GPU that handles a variety of tasks, the MTIA is engineered exclusively to process the specific mathematical workloads of Meta's AI algorithms.
Got it. So Broadcom is facilitating the chip design, the advanced packaging, and the intricate networking required to synchronize tens of thousands of these chips into a unified cluster.
Exactly. And the technical leap here is that these upcoming chips will utilize a 2-nanometer fabrication process.
Okay, let's unpack that, because to understand why a 2-nanometer process is a foundational leap, we have to look at the physics of data travel.
Let's do it.
2 nanometers is roughly the width of a single strand of human DNA.
That is unimaginably small.
It is. And by shrinking the transistors to this microscopic scale, Meta can pack billions more onto a single piece of silicon. The shorter the distance the electrons have to travel, the faster the AI can calculate probabilities.
But compressing billions of electrical pathways into an area the size of a postage stamp generates a localized thermal nightmare.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, the friction of those electrons creates an astronomical density of heat. That thermal reality dictates the staggering power requirements outlined in this partnership. Meta is committing to an initial deployment of 1 gigawatt solely for these AI accelerators.
1 gigawatt?
And with a strategic roadmap to eventually scale to multiple gigawatts.
A gigawatt? is a nearly unfathomable unit of continuous energy consumption for a single corporate division. I mean, it inevitably triggers images of Doc Brown in Back to the Future.
Yes, screaming about 1.21 gigawatts to rip a hole in the space-time continuum.
Exactly. But in practical terms, Meta is basically dedicating the equivalent electrical draw of a medium-sized American city exclusively to power and cool these specific AI processors.
It's wild.
And Mark Zuckerberg has publicly stated this hyper-concentrated foundation is necessary to deliver, quote, personal superintelligence to billions of users.
That's the corporate messaging, yeah?
But hold on, let's inject some reality into that. Are everyday families actually clamoring for a personal superintelligence? Or is this just a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure land grab disguised as a consumer feature so Meta doesn't lose the decade to Microsoft?
Honestly, it is entirely an infrastructure land grab. The average consumer isn't demanding a superintelligent companion. They just want frictionless search, instant video rendering, and predictive text. But from the perspective of Meta's executive board, whoever commands the deepest, fastest physical compute layer will dictate the economic terms of the next iteration of the internet.
Right. The stakes of this hardware deployment are so severe that Broadcom CEO, Hock Tan, is actually stepping down from Meta's board of directors just to avoid a conflict of interest.
Yeah, he's transitioning to an advisory role specifically to guide this custom silicon roadmap.
He really just strips away the illusion of digital immateriality. Running these models requires concrete fortresses, miles of specialized steel piping, millions of gallons of water for thermal cooling, and gigawatts of continuous electricity pulled directly from the local utility grid.
We are building the factories of the cognitive era, and they are incredibly resource intensive. It connects every data point we've analyzed today.
It really does. The software efficiency at Snap is directly subsidized by the physical power grid expansions orchestrated by Meta.
Exactly.
Well, before we wrap up this morning's tech report, we have one final message for you.
We do.
Before we wrap up, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store, perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFL for 15% off at oldglory.com.
So when we pull back and look at the macro picture today, we are watching a rapid, synchronized evolution of the economy. At Snap, we see the stark human impact, where autonomous systems are assuming the role of primary code generation.
Which fundamentally alters the trajectory of the human software engineer.
Exactly. And simultaneously, we see the invisible battlefield taking shape at OpenAI and Anthropic, where less restricted, highly potent AI models are being deployed as a last line of defense.
Against the very same algorithmic capabilities utilized by state-sponsored hackers.
Right. And anchoring that entire digital ecosystem is the raw gigawatt-scale physical infrastructure being forged by Meta and Broadcom, a sprawling network of concrete and silicon required to sustain the computational load.
It is a profound shift to process. So we want to leave you with a final thought to consider as you head into your day. We've explored how rapidly this technology is moving from abstract software into a physical gigawatt-consuming reality.
Yeah.
So if artificial intelligence is already autonomously writing 65% of the application code, and specialized models are actively managing the security perimeters of those networks, what exactly will the daily workflow of a human tech professional look like just 2 years from now?
That is a fascinating question.
Are we building systems to manage the machines, or are we simply building the infrastructure so we can sit back and watch them work?
That is the defining question of the next decade.
We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.